Blog Talk Radio.
Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together unity. This is the 90 Degree Show, brought to you by the Marching Podcast and Blog Talk Radio. I am your host, Joe Beard, and I am happy to be of service of you today. Today is June 3rd. Happy June 2012. It is 3 o'clock on the West Coast, 6 o'clock on the East Coast. Today on the 90 Degree Show, we tell upcoming events from the Marching Podcast, an article found on identifying a mob. We discuss why hazing is a part of the marching band experience, pros and cons of hazing, and we'll take your calls at 718-664-6025. And in your feedback, audio files to play on the show, birthdays, anniversaries, personal upcoming events, pictures that will display while listening on the show, etc., to marchingpodcast@gmail.com. We got a Facebook now, y'all, so like us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Marching Podcast, or you can tweet us at Marching Podcast. And now it's time for the fanfare. The fanfare is the part of the show where we highlight press releases and upcoming events from marchingsport.com and or HBCU Digest, upcoming events from the Marching Podcast, and of course feedback about your business and or personal events. Today we have all announcements for the Marching Podcast with the main purpose to get people to join the bandwagon. See, bandwagon, that was supposed to be a joke. But yes, bandwagon, the bandwagon. We need correspondents, instructors, photographers, camera people, writers, etc. Anyone that could help out, or if you have the same passion for band, please contact me, and we can definitely use your help. The more we put into the Marching Podcast, the more jobs seem to reveal themselves. Looking at bandhead.org and seeing the results from the SOD versus someone competition, excuse me for not knowing or being familiar, to see the results and people talking about a lot of these all-star bands, which is really cool. I really enjoy those. But I see that, people post their results of what they think. We definitely want the Marching Podcast side of things. We want to give the Marching Podcast view of the battle. We want to have the footage taken by the Marching Podcast. We want to actually give ratings to the battles. We talked about that before in our competition formula, which is definitely still in the works. We want people to download the audio files. They can listen to it from our website, and we want to so they can listen to them on their phones, the band music on their iPods, MP3 players. We want to build an entity here at the Marching Podcast, but we cannot do that without you, the real bandies out there, the real band geese, as they say. United we stand, divided we fall. So go out there and support these programs. If you have some feedback, you can contact the show. I'll give the show information again. We're at at Marching Podcast on Twitter, marchingpodcast@gmail.com. You can actually get at me on Bandhead. I am Phantom Funk Bandhead. And on the fifth quarter, I am JKB9703. That's JKB9703. And you can like us on Facebook. We'll put as much information through our Facebook page as possible, Facebook.com/Marching Podcast. If you give your analysis, we'll go ahead and contact you and feature you on the show so you can give more detail of your analysis. In the near future, we'll have our own website. That is also in the works, but it is coming very, very soon. That will be www.themarchingpodcast.com. That will have everything in one place for people to send and download content. And the website will feature you and your work as well. All the pictures taken by, the videos taken by, editorial by. We want to rate the battles. We want to give the Marching Podcast score for the performance. And we talked a little bit about the competition formula before. We want that formula on the website. It could be arbitrary. It could be, whatever may have you, but people still know the rating on this battle was at the Marching Podcast. We want to rate the battles, give a score, and then who knows, have a composite score at the end of the season. We talked about in the last episode about a playoff bracket system and, why sports and marching band being recognized like sports and having a playoff bracket system, a seed system. We could do that. We really could. We could do that on our website based on our formulas. We just really want to build and grow not only for the support of our schools but to propel marching band and be a beacon of light to the world to see. I only wish I could give a salary with benefits at this time for all of this, but who knows what the future will be. We will remain positive because our efforts are for the betterment of our community, and there is not a price or equal amount of money made that can trump that. So let's keep that in mind. Again, you're listening to the 90 Degree Show, brought to you by the Marching Podcast and Blog Talk Radio. Thanks for listening. See, we have more announcements for the Marching Podcast. Just a few quick things before we get into our topic today about hazing being a part of the marching band experience. We've decided on a name for our recruiting show and our player development show, which will eliminate all the TBA titles that we had and getting the Marching Podcast off the ground. The recruiting show will be called the Blue Note Show, and the player development show will be called Woodshedding. Blue Note Show being from Blue Chip Athlete, note being from music, of course. As far as woodshedding goes, every musician knows that in order to get better, they have to go to the woodshed to put in some work. Everybody's familiar with that term, I'm pretty sure. We figured it would be catchy enough to work together. So that is the Blue Note Show and Woodshedding with the Marching Podcast. Blue Note Show is an opportunity for high school and college kids to search and inquire about scholarships to band programs, interviews with band directors, audition announcements, and opportunities to talk and ask questions with band directors and scouts. This show will provide someone a scholarship to not only march in one of the greatest battles in the history, but also for an opportunity for an education, which is the greatest thing and the most important thing that we can ask for. I think it'll also give more attention to black colleges. We're not closing it off to black colleges, but just having that name out there and just having this site as a resource, it's going to bring more attention to black colleges, like we talked about in general in our first couple of episodes, especially being out here on the West Coast. So we're really excited to bring that to our listeners, and I'm definitely thinking we'll propel from there. Now, for the other show, Woodshedding, with the Marching Podcast, it'll be a show on how to get better as a musician and what to practice on, what to practice when trying to develop specific skills. We'll have interviews with instrument instructors that will give helpful tips on how to make you a better player. Our plan is to have a woodshedding show for percussion, have one for woodwinds, have one for brass, and also this would be for people of all ages, and the tips should be applied at any level. We'll discuss books, valve oils, sticks, better music stores, better music experiences, all the tools that you'll need to become first chair. And that'll be really exciting. I'm really excited about that one. So that'll be the Blue Note Show and Woodshedding with the Marching Podcast coming to you soon on Blog Talk Radio. Second quick announcement. I'm going to get in here because we're moving along. The second quick announcement is that we believe that we have this time slot that will work for us. We're going to try to make this time slot ours, make it our home, let people know one time to get used to. That'll be Marching Podcast every Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time with one of the shows in the Marching Podcast suite. So we talked about the 90-degree show, the Blue Note Show, Chopping It Up, Woodshedding. We want to have each one of those shows consecutive weeks, so probably one show a month. We try to consider the average time when the college, high school alumni would be around a computer to listen. During the week was definitely tough because you're in class during the day, then in practice all night, and some of you in practice all night past midnight. We won't get into that. Saturdays is game day, so of course that's a no, but we hope that Sundays you're relaxing and doing some homework. And I know Sundays for most alumni, especially myself, is football days, but hopefully at that 6 o'clock time it'll be maybe the end of the second set of games or maybe in between the second set and the Sunday night game. Maybe you can open a tab or open a new browser or so and listen as you're getting ready for the night game or while you're checking your fantasy scores, because definitely around that time I know that's what I'm doing to see how far I'm ahead. But that's another show. That is definitely another topic. We could talk another 30 minutes just about that, but I won't get into that. So it's going to be every Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You'll hear from the Marching Podcast on one of our shows. Our last announcement is to tell you guys about the interviews that we have on Chopping It Up with the Marching Podcast, and there's a show where we talk one-on-one with some of the brightest minds that have battled at halftime and after the game, now making a difference in our world today. We talked to multiple contacts this week. I'm really excited. We got a lot of emails. I'm excited as Tim Tebow with establishing connections with these people. I'm excited as him. I'm probably not as excited, but I won't tell you everyone right now, but our first guest next week will be Jared Carter Sr., the creator of HBCU Digest. He went to Morgan State. Jared wants HBCU Digest to be the premier resource for black college information, and I think he's pretty close, if not that already. Notice I said information because he has news about multiple topics. Gave me some great insight and great advice, and I'm very grateful. We also talked to Gregory Johnson of Florida A&M, who has created a petition to make marching band a sport. Very awesome idea. He has created a business plan as well to create a national band league, something that we talked about a couple episodes ago. And one of the minds behind Drumline Live, which is the Broadway show from the movie Drumline. This guy's doing big things, and both of them are younger than me. So I think that's a good sign. Even though I'm not really that old, it was amazing to talk to two guys younger than I was, so far ahead in their passions. So the date for Chopping It Up with Jared will be next Sunday the 10th, and Chopping It Up with Gregory will be the following Sunday the 17th. I am definitely not sure how today's discussion will go, but I will update everyone accordingly. So please tune in to premiere of Chopping It Up with Jared Carter Sr. and Chopping It Up with Gregory Johnson, coming to you this month from the Marching Podcast and Blog Talk Radio. And now, time for the crux of the matter. Crux of the matter is the part of the show where we dig completely into the topic, take as many calls as we can, leave the show to you, the people. Please give us a call at 718-664-6025 and speak your mind. Today we ask the question and hope to get some type of answers. Why is hazing a part of the college marching experience? Is it necessary? How long has it been going on? What are the positives and negatives of hazing? Please, someone break me down and tell me. 718-664-6025. Please enlighten me. If you're listening live, you can also send me a chat message, and I will read it live on the air and respond. So to start, I went and did a little research about hazing itself. Here we go. Just a little report here I have for y'all. I did a little research on hazing, where it came from, who started it, et cetera, and found that it's been going on for thousands of years. Now, that is not a big surprise to me, and I definitely already knew that. But damn, thousands and thousands of years. According to Hank Newer, and that's N-U-W-E-R, who in 2000 wrote High School Hazing, When Rights Become Wrongs, and he spelled rights R-I-T-E-S, as in rites of passage. He says that in the 6th century B.C., the Emperor Justinian of Byzantine outlawed the practice of hazing for first-year law students. And to think about that is 2012, and this was reported somewhere between 500 and 600 BC. Back then, way back then, they felt it was necessary for potential lawyers to be hazed. Maybe because of the rigors of the job or the prestige associated with the job, but to be a lawyer in the 6th century, you were getting hazed. It was definitely hard to find the specifics of what was considered hazing back then, specifically what they were doing. But hazing, by definition, according to dictionary.com, it says to subject freshmen to abuse, humiliating them, ridicule. It says that generally it's used to promote group loyalty and camaraderie through shared suffering, and it ensures male and female bonding in organizations. male or female bonding in organizations. Now, according to Wikipedia, a student at Harvard, Joseph Webb, was expelled for hazing in 1684. And in 1684, now, he was expelled for hazing. He did something that obviously crossed the line in 1684. And then in 1873, the New York Times wrote an article about hazing going on at the West Point Academy, the military academy. So through common suffering, us as humans, we form bonds with each other. And that common suffering has been going on for thousands of years. I know this is in the Bible, and I know I'm going to be crucified, no pun intended, for not quoting the exact verse. I do know I look for it as time would permit. But the gist, it's in the Bible, the New Testament, I believe, Hebrews or something. See, I won't even get in trouble with quoting. But the gist is basically that common traumatic experience, we become closer. Brotherhoods are formed. And it's scary when you think about it, because I myself, I think it's true. You meet a girl or a dude for the first time and you cool with them or whatever, but the relationship instantly changes when you and that person are in the hole together. And when I say hole, that's a regional term. I could mean session, sectional, whatever people calls it when it all goes down. You and your brother or you and your sister, you become that much closer. We are humbled as humans and most receptive, and we learn a lot about ourselves, and we are willing to do the right thing for ourselves and others. Again, this is the 90 Degree Show, brought to you by the Marching Podcast and Blog Talk Radio. Thanks for listening. I saw a discussion on Bandhead where someone copy-pasted an article from WCTV, and that's like a station somewhere affiliate with, I believe, CBS, and they're in the city somewhere between Florida and Georgia where they border each other. But the article was called Psychological Reasons Behind Hazing. Do you think it's a logical reason? And it's an interview with Barbara Barnes, who is a former FAMU professor who is dedicated to stop hazing. And she says that the need to belong is so powerful that it makes some people set aside their true values. And she described the beatings as champions as a mafia mentality, or an example of human cruelty. She says that many young people participate in hazing because of a sense of wanting to belong or rites of passage. In the release interviews from Champion's death, band members say that they participated in hazing rituals to give respect. Let's be real. That's the real. I mean, I learned when I graduated from college this, but college itself on a lot of social levels is the same as high school. There are cliques in high school and friends at that age. Having friends at that age, it affects our future. But the same can be said in college. You're more mature and you're away from home. But with the bands and with frats and sororities, membership to these social organizations, it is definitely viewed as more of an accomplishment versus a group to change the world to a better place. Now, down south, bands and frats are so popular that kids in high school, they know where they're going to school. They know where they're going to march. They know what they're going to pledge. And a lot of times these high school kids already have their own groups. So the social reward for being in these frats and sororities, it's worth whatever happens to you online, or like whatever happens to you when you're a crab. So, if it's worth it, what are the benefits? I mean, how does hazing help you? According to the Texas A&M Stop Hazing organization, they list pros and cons of hazing, and some of the pros were it builds character, When faced with events that cause you to think on your feet under duress, it develops your leadership and deductive reasoning skills. It weeds out the people that don't take the process seriously. You learn a lot about your line brothers. Hazing cultivates a shared pride and promotes discipline. Now, let's be real. I think some of those are true, and I'm not really sure about the weeds people out one, but the problem is that no one is supposed to die. No one is supposed to die, especially a kid away from home at college or a soldier even to go fight for his country. No one is supposed to die. We're getting close to the end here, but you can still call me at 718-664-6025. If you're listening live, you can send me a chat message. A huge part of the hazing discussion, and we may have to get into this at another time, but it's the hazing act itself. I mean, the hazing, it has its good benefits, but was it always whooping tail? I mean, serious beat downs. Were those 6th century law students, were they taking wood, or were they getting slapped in the face? You know what I mean? Were those Harvard students coughing up blood, or the soldiers at West Point, whatever, going to the hospital over some, because of the session the previous night? I'm not really sure. I just know something happened to make people want to make it illegal. And I know I've talked about human nature and relates to hazing, but is it a cultural thing? I mean, it affects everyone of all cultures, but, and speaking in the black community, does it get any deeper? If anyone knows what the seasoning period is, what African slaves went through, did we have to pledge to be in the American fraternity? And crazy enough, are we the children of that idea? And are we keeping this cycle going? It's definitely something to think about. I'll spare you the specifics of seasoning, but it's the precondition the African captives to their new lot in life. So they would be ready for the daily rigors awaiting for them in the Americas they were seasoned. Is this what is going on? Is this idea continuing? Because it's prevalent in a lot of our organizations. It's open in the Divine Nine. It's open in the Sonic Boom of the South, and any band that you can think about. Just like the kids at FAM, and then there's no opposition. Just like this social acceptance that we talked about. There's not any opposition to what happens to you. So as far as, going in and standing up and saying, no, I don't want to do this, are we asking too much? And then those people who actually stand up, there will always be the eternal beef with this person, as long as they associate with the entity. Those other folks, they will keep the hate going for these people. So there's no chance that they'll ever be accepted on the same level. And I'm sure that this ridicule is similar to what we went through, or what our people went through in the 60s, or maybe what some of our parents have gone through. It's the same. So these people who are standing up to us, are they our future leaders? And are we hassling our own future leaders in our own community? Are we crucifying the potential leaders that take a stand against something that we seem to have picked up from our oppressors? I don't know if it's too much to ask a 17-year-old to have the courage of Rosa Parks, but I know that's a tough thing to do. We definitely will be talking about this more and other things, definitely in the future. But we are definitely thank you for listening. So we here at our in and shout out. We always want to thank God first and foremost. Parents Joe and Natalie, thank you. Johnson C. Smith University and Jackson State. or Trump Funk and the Echoes of Hell. Thank you to the Texas A&M Stop Hazing Organization, Barbara Barnes, Hank Neuter, Wikipedia. Thanks to Blog Talk Radio and HBCU Digest. Thanks to you for listening, and remember, we only just a minute, only 60 seconds, forced upon us. Can't refuse it, didn't seek it, didn't choose it, but it's up to us to use it. We must suffer if we lose it, give an account if we abuse it. Just a tiny little minute, but eternity is in it. See you next time.